Hello, my name is Father Mitchell Bechtold. I'm a priest of the Diocese of Saint Cloud, and I want to introduce you to a book, little-known book, called In Charity, Unfeigned, by Father William P. Furlan, a priest of the Diocese of Saint Cloud, who has since gone to his rest. This is a book of essentially a biography about the life of Father Francis Xavier Pierz, a Slovenian priest who is credited with being the father of the Diocese of Saint Cloud, celebrating the first Mass within the geographic boundaries of this region that is now our diocese. And this book was released in 1952, and it's really hard to come by a copy. And for that reason, I wanted to try to find a way to make it more available. And so that's this audiobook. Using a simple app called Speechify, I was able to take a copy of this book and allow it to be turned into an audio format for your enjoyment, for your reception. Father Francis Xavier Pierz was an intrepid evangelizer for the church. At the age of 49, he left Slovenia to come to the New World to be able to evangelize to Europeans and Native Americans alike. Jesus, of course, in the Gospels, before he ascends into heaven, says, "Go therefore, baptizing in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teach them to observe all that I've commanded you." And that evangelical impulse to bring Christ to all the corners of the world is certainly what inspired Father Pierz, and it's certainly what inspired all that he did, allowing him to be really a light to all those he met, a light of love. Mindful of this, I want you to know that in this book you will find what is, by all modern day standards, insensitive language. And I would encourage you to power through those words, power through even some of those accounts, and to recognize the historical benefit that is to be found in knowing the origins of the history of the Diocese of Saint Cloud. God bless you all, and I pray that the good, shining example of Father Xavier Pierz be a good help to you and be an inspiration to you. And I hope that it wells up in us a spirit of gratitude for all the efforts that help lay the foundations of our Catholic life here in central Minnesota. God bless.
The Reverend Francis Xavier Pierz, Father of the Diocese of Saint Cloud. In Charity, Unfeigned, The Life of Father Francis Xavier Pierz, by William P. Furlan, Priest of the Diocese of Saint Cloud. 2. His Excellency, the Most Reverend Joseph Francis Bush, D.D., Bishop of Saint Cloud, who throughout the 42 years of his episcopate has exemplified for his priests and people the motto, In Charity, Unfeigned. Foreword. In presenting this life of Father Francis Xavier Pierz to the reader, we have it in mind not only to show forth the Christian qualities of this great missionary, the apostle of central and northern Minnesota, but also to impress the reader with the apostolate of truth and grace perpetuated and carried on in the great mission of Christ on earth. In contemplating the life of Father Pierz a century later, and contrasting the developments around us with their beginnings in 1852, we can fully appreciate the influence of the teaching of Christ's truth and the power of his grace through the Mass and the sacraments working in the souls of men. Thus, it is not merely to extol the heroic sacrifices of a Catholic priest that this book is written, but to impress the reader with the great mission of Christ in the world, and to point out that living with Christ daily brings peace, order, and spiritual and material culture to human society, and achieves the great purpose of human existence, namely, the salvation of souls. A great reassurance, therefore, a feeling of rightful pride, as well as a sense of security in the faith, must come to all of us when we observe what loyalty to Christ, what sacrifices, hardships, and suffering for his cause have accomplished in central and northern Minnesota. This century of living with Christ is the perpetuation of 20 centuries of continuity in the faith, of loyalty to Christ, and of the apostolate of truth and grace in the world. It is very clear that God intended, in his plan for man's salvation, that man himself should play an important role. That is why, in addition to undergoing his redemptive death, Christ established a church, gave it the Mass and the sacraments, and laid upon its leaders the duty of teaching his truths to men. If men fail in this duty of teaching and of giving to, and the graces of his redemptive act on the cross go unused in exactly that degree. In the 19th century, an intrepid, zealous man came to Minnesota to preach Christ's truth and to administer his grace. We have the duty to extol him and to present his deeds of heroism for Christ and the Church to our generation of men. For such deeds are part of the Catholic heritage, and through the perusal of such deeds, inspired Christian leadership is moved to carry ever farther the torch of the truth of Christ and the traditions of 2,000 years of Christian living. It is hoped that the account in these pages of a true and grief-hearted priest will achieve this high purpose, will root the faith deeper in our souls, will develop a greater impulse to sacrifice in our lives, and a more ardent love for Christ in our hearts, so that his kingdom shall come among all men, and he shall reign over all. We are much indebted to the author of this biography of Father Pierz. Several years of research and study have gone into its publication. We owe him gratitude, for he has forged a link between the past and future. Peter W. Bartholomew, Coadjutor Bishop of Saint Cloud. Feast of the Purification of Our Lady, February 2nd, 1952. Table of Contents. Foreword 7. Acknowledgements 11th, Chapter 1. Background to a Career 3, Chapter 2. The Parish Priest in Carniola 23, 35. Chapter 3. A Call from America, Chapter 4. The Land of the Crooked Tree 55. Chapter 5. In Journeying Often 73, Chapter 6. Sault Ste. Marie 91. Chapter 7. At the Place of the Big Portage 125. Chapter 8. All Things to All Men 159, Chapter 9. Among the Chippewas, Chapter 10. The Land of Promise 182, 206, Chapter 11. Sowing in Tears and Reaping in Joy 226, Appendix. A Brief Description of the Minnesota Territory 245, Bibliography. 257. The Reverend Francis Xavier Pierz, Father of the Diocese of Saint Cloud. Agriculture was not something alien to him. Page, frontispiece, 31st. Her blessed death accomplished much good in my mission. Pierce meets Baraga and his sister Antonia at La Pointe. Preaching to the Indians at Arbre Croche, priest and trader witness an Indian scalp dance. The two priests meet at Little Falls. The boys of Ljubljana hear about America, 81, 121, 161, 187, 223, 241. Acknowledgements. This biography of Father Francis Xavier Pierz has been in the making since the fall of 1945, when the author was commissioned to begin the work of research by the Most Reverend Peter W. Bartholomew, Coadjutor Bishop of Saint Cloud. To His Excellency Bishop Bartholomew, more than to any other single person, should go the credit for this study of the life and labors of the Father of the Diocese of Saint Cloud. Not only did the original idea for the project come from him, but its successful completion was due in large measure to his constant interest and encouragement. Therefore, the author wishes to discharge this debt of gratitude to His Excellency first and foremost. It is a pleasant duty to express my sincere thanks to him. Many libraries and archival centers were of immeasurable service to me during the years of research, and their staffs assisted me graciously and untiringly. Among them are the following, and I wish publicly to acknowledge my indebtedness to them: St. John's University, Collegeville, Minn., the Mullen Library, Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C., the Catholic Historical Society of St. Paul, and the Minnesota Historical Society, both in St. Paul, the University of Notre Dame, Indiana, the College of St. Scholastica, Duluth, and the Bureau of Catholic Indian Missions, Washington, D.C. Individuals who have assisted me and to whom I owe special thanks are Right Reverend John L. Zaplotnik, Very Reverend Angelus Delahunt, S.A., Very Reverend Grande, S.A., Reverend John Tracy Ellis, Reverend Rudolph G. Bandus, Reverend William Bush, Reverend Thomas McAvoy, C.S.C., Reverend Peter Leo Johnson, Reverend Peter Lorsong, Reverend Victor Siegler, Sister Grace McDonald, OSB, Sister Loyola, OSB, Sister M. Redempta, OSF, Sister Clarence Swantek, CSJ, Miss Grace, Lee Newt. Many other persons have also rendered me services of one kind or another. These are too numerous to mention, but to one, and all the author wishes to express a heartfelt Thank you and God bless you. WPF grateful acknowledgement is made to the following publishers for permission to quote from the works indicated. Bob's Merrill Company, Inc., Lake Michigan, by Emilo M. Quaife, Lake Superior, by Grace Lee Newt, both copyright 1944. Oxford University Press, The Land of the Crooked Tree, by U.P. Hedrick, Michigan. A Guide to the Wolverine State, The Growth of the American Republic, by Samuel Eliot Morrison and Henry Steele Commager. Prentice Hall, We Who Built America, by Carl Whitke. The Catholic University of America Press, The Society for the Propagation of the Faith, by Edward J. Hickey National Catholic. Welfare Conference, 1923, The National Pastorals of the American Hierarchy, 1792 to 1919. Harvard University Press, The Immigrant in American History, by Marcus Lee Hansen, This Was America, edited by Oscar Handlin. Alfred A. Knopf, Inc., The American Indian Frontier, by William C. McLeod. B. Herder Book Company. 10 Decades of Alms, by Theodor Romer, The History of the Popes from the Close of the Middle Ages, by Ludwig von Pastor. University of California Press, Yugoslavia, edited by Robert J. Kerner. The Macmillan Company, The Story of American Catholicism, by Theodore Maynard, copyright. Minnesota Historical Society, Minnesota Under Four Flags, edited by Arthur J. Larson, 1946, The Voyageur's Highway, by Grace Lee Newt, 1947, A History of Minnesota, by William Watts Folwell, 1924. Horns of Thunder, The Life and Times of James M. Goodhue, by Mary Wheelhouse Berthel, 1948. Documents Relating to Northwest Missions, 1815 to 1827, edited by Grace Lee Newt. Stackpole Sons, A Survey of European Civilization, Vol. 2, by Louis L. Snyder. Hastings House, Minnesota, A State Guide. Bruce Publishing Company, The Church Founders of the Northwest, by M. M. Hoffman. The America Press, Inc., Major Trends in American Church History, Francis X. Curran, S.J., The Jesuits of the Middle United States, Vol. 2, by Gilbert J. Garahan. S.J., United States Catholic Historical Society, Catholic Immigrant Colonization Projects in the United States, 1815 to 1860, by Sister Mary Gilbert, O.P. For permission to quote from the articles indicated, we wish to thank Acta et Dicta, Father Pierz, Missionary and Colonizer, by Reverend J.B. Tennelly. Father Scola's Report on His Indian Missions, by Grace Lee Newt. The First German Migration into Stearns County, by Sister Ardis Hartman, OSB, The Industrial. Activities of the Foreign Born in St. Cloud in 1860, by Sister Leonie Treacy, OSB, Reverend Lawrence Latouchar in Minnesota, by Right Reverend John L. Zaplotnik. The Reverend Francis Perec, Indian Missionary, by Reverend John Seliskar, Missionary Activity in the Northwest under the French Regime, by Sister Aquinas Norton. Social Justice Review. Excerpts from the Indians of North America, translated by Eugene Hagedorn, OFM, and Father Francis Xavier Chenins, CSS, R., a pioneer priest, 1832 to 1877, by John M. Lenhart, OFM Cap. For permission to quote from works privately printed, we wish to thank Reverend Emmett Ashanahan, author of Minnesota's Forgotten Martyr, and Reverend Benjamin J. Blyde, author of Austrian Aid to American Catholics. The New Testament is quoted in the Confraternity of Christian Doctrine Revision, copyright 1941.